I don't understand the uproar about this. I get the fact that Brees threw for more touchdowns and had more yards this decade. However, this decade, Aaron Rodgers won a Super Bowl. Brees did not. This decade, Aaron Rodgers won 2 league MVPs. Brees won 0. This decade, Aaron Rodgers was first-team All-Pro twice. Brees was first-team All-Pro 0 times. Aaron Rodgers was the next best quarterback and maybe the best quarterback of the decade, but certainly the second most accomplished behind Brady. So I feel badly for Brees, but much like Dan Marino, Brees is going to go his whole career without ever being on an all-decade team. Wildes, it seems impossible, but that's what happened to Marino in the 80s and 90s. That's what's happening to Brees in the 2000s and the 2010s, Kevin Wildes.
I think somebody's got to be out. That's just the way it goes. So we look at this next decade, Nick. I'm just going to put a little scare into you. Suppose Tua's going to come out and Trevor Lawrence. We both think they're going to be great. We know Lamar is going to be great. There could be a point in 10 years. Is it Trevor Lawrence, Lamar Jackson? And we're like, remember, we're doing the show in 2030 now. We're like, wow, Nick, how upset are you that Patrick Mahomes did not make the list?
No, it's fair. And by the way, why the argument is Brad Westbrook. I know people are saying, did Drew Brees get snubbed? I mean, if I'm being honest, I feel like maybe Mahomes got snubbed a bit. I mean, he did win an MVP, a Super Bowl MVP, and a Super Bowl championship this decade. But that's just me speaking here. But go ahead, Westbrook.
It was coming.
Yeah, I had a feeling that at some point Patrick Mahomes had to be brought up in this show, and Nick waited until the last segment to bring him up, which is kind of surprising there. He usually likes to bring Patrick Mahomes up at the start of the show, but you know what? Drew Brees was not snubbed. The Saints missed the playoffs 4 times in this past decade. In fact, they were 7-9. And when you talk about one of the best quarterbacks that have ever played the game, and Drew Brees, I do not expect his football team to miss the playoffs 3 years in a row, 2014, 2015, and 2016. And really, I also didn't expect him to lose this year in the wild card round to the Minnesota Vikings and Kirk Cousins. And so because of all those things, I'm not surprised that he did not make the all-decade team.
All right, so Tom Brady has now made 2 all-decade teams, the first quarterback to accomplish this. Nick, you think we ever see a quarterback do this again?
No, and this speaks to Brady's unprecedented greatness. If you were to bisect Tom Brady's career in 2010, what you would have is 2 separate first-ballot Hall of Fame careers. He and Jerry Rice are the only 2 guys who, if you cut their career in half, not only are they 2 great careers, they are both Hall of Fame careers. Brady from 01 to 2010, 3 Super Bowl championships, 4 appearances, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, and 2 league MVPs. That makes him one of the 10 greatest quarterbacks ever. Brady from 2011 to right now, 3 Super Bowl championships, 5 appearances, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, and 1 league MVP. That makes him one of the 10 greatest quarterbacks ever. Wildes, I don't believe we will ever see this again. It was a perfect storm, and Brady oddly accomplished had almost identical accomplishments in the 20-aughts and the 2010s. That's how you become first team all-decade for the 20-aughts and unanimous for the 2010s, Kevin Wildes.
Ryan, oddly, I think this is going to be commonplace. I think there's 2 reasons. 1, the NFL rules are all trending towards quarterback safety. 2, nutrition. It's not just going to be Tom Brady eating right and having avocado shakes every morning. It's going to be everybody. So when Trevor Lawrence comes into the league, he looks around and says, wow, I can play for 20 years. I think this is going to be moderately common to see quarterbacks play for 2 decades, and we'll get a few people who are leaping both decades to be an all-decade team player.
Well, Kevin, I think it kind of makes sense that players in the future may be able to play longer, maybe even 20 years, but that's not what Tom Brady did. That wasn't the only thing that Tom Brady did. Tom Brady was great for 2 decades. He just wasn't playing. He just wasn't a guy. He was in his prime for 2 decades, and that's the hard thing to be able to do, because at some point in your career, you have to decline just because your skill set and father time is undefeated. And so I just think that it's going to be almost impossible to find someone else to be able to compete at this high of a level for 2 decades in the way that Tom Brady has done.
And if I can expand on it quickly here, Jenna, just think about this as well.
Go ahead.
Though, I apologize, Jenna, that's my mistake. I just do expand, I'll answer the question. Think about the guys Brady kept off the list. Drew Brees never made one. Big Ben, Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, Russell Wilson, Kurt Warner, all these great quarterbacks who never made an all-decade team, in part because Brady was always taking up a spot. But to answer your question, the other thing I took away from this list was, I know Wildes will want to say the Patriots were the team of the decade, but were the Chiefs the team of the decade? I just see Chiefs all over this list. LaShawn McCoy on the all-decade team. He was a Chief. Darrelle Revis was a Chief. Eric Berry was a Chief. But we certainly know what the team of the next decade will be. Yeah, he was. That's where he finished his career. Look it up. But we certainly know who the team of the next decade will be because Kevin Wildes, did you see who had 3 active players on this list? All-decade member Travis Kelce. All-decade member Honey Badger. All-decade member Tyreek Hill. Not only all active, not only all still in their prime, but all locked in to the defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs for 2020 and 2021, the first 2 years of the next decade. So that was my other takeaway. Jenna Wolfe, sorry to step on the question earlier. I was just so excited to discuss this. The Chiefs, arguably the team of the last decade, because nobody cared, and now certainly Wildes going to be the team of the next decade.
Gosh.
My fault for getting him fired up with takeaways.
Jenna, I talked about this. There's nothing worse when the guy is right. Here's my one counterpoint. Every player is getting a little bit worse. Injuries, NFL's a tough sport. It's just getting a little bit worse. Except there's one guy on that list who's getting better. He's just getting smarter. And it's Bill Belichick being coach of the decade. He's actually just going to get better and better and better. As the Chiefs trend this way, bingo, here comes Belichick. Blammo, going this way. That's my retort. Brian?
You know, Kevin, I wish that Bill Belichick would get better. That means that he was able to win without the best quarterback of all time in Tom Brady. And I just don't know if that can happen. But when you mention coach, and I look at this list, I have to bring up my old football coach, Andy Reid. He took a Kansas City Chiefs team that was 2-14 when he got there, had a bunch of Pro Bowlers, but didn't know how to play together. That was 2-14. He brought that team into a situation where they've won double-digit games in each of the next 7 or 8 years, except for 2014, and a Super Bowl as well. And Nick talks about all the players on the all-decade team. A lot of that has to do with the guidance and the leadership that Andy Reid brought to that organization. And you have to have him on that list if you're talking about all-decade team as well as coaches.
Are we taking Bill Belichick?
Right, Brian Westbrook should have been the coach. No, Pete Carroll, you're out of here. Andy Reid should have been on there. And Jenna, when we're looking to the 2020s, Westbrook said, I wait every day to get Mahomes into the show. Is there any question he's going to be the all-decade quarterback of the next decade? Travis Kelce going to do it back-to-back just like Brady did. Jenna. Honey Badger, why not? Eric Berry might come back next year. Jenna, it's all coming up Chiefs in 2020.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.